depends on the weather, the conditions, and where I'm going. And at the moment, beginning of March, sunrise it's not too early, but even if I'm going half an hour away by car, I want to be in position at the location a good 45 minutes before sunrise. So I am beginning to get up at sort of 4, half 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. If the forecast is saying mist and fog, then I'll be up 2, 3, 4 days, however many days the weather conditions are looking good for what I want to shoot. Because mist, fog, they're limited. We don't get many days where the mist and the fog is in the right place, at the right density, with the right light. So you've got to go and use it whilst you can. There's no point sort of saying, oh, it's going to be misty tomorrow, but I'm going to have a lie-in, because, you won't get a shot. When I look at weather forecasts, I look at the BBC forecasts on the TV, I look at the BBC forecasts on the web, and I look at YR.no on the web as well, which it breaks it down, it's much more detailed. And when it says sort of, storm clouds, moderate winds, then the conditions are going to be changeable. If it says sunshine and showers, that's almost heaven. Apart from a misty morning is the ultimate for me, but sunshine and showers, where you get a sharp sort of 20-minute rainstorm followed by half an hour of huge, big, fluffy clouds, blue sky, followed by another rainstorm, followed by another break. When those conditions are being forecast, you think, as a landscape photographer, you just want to go out and use them. It's like, you don't think, oh, it's going to rain. You think, let's get out there and find a location where you can use those conditions. And it's almost, in a way, it's the unpredictability of having sort of a storm where you've got to hunker down, you've got to shelter, then you might have 10 minutes to get the kit out and then get a shot done, because the sun is coming out, beams of light, dramatic clouds, but also the rain will have cleared the air, so the light tends to be quite sharp, quite crisp and clean. So it's not hazy. There's a real sort of sharpness to the conditions, and you're getting storm clouds as a backdrop. So big thunder clouds in the background, beams of light, but gorgeous, clear, sort of sharp, contrasty light is the bonus. You keep an eye on the clouds. It might still be raining when you break cover and actually start setting up, because as soon as the storm has passed you might have 30 seconds, a minute to actually get the shot before the clouds have actually moved on and you've got blue sky. Well, plain blue sky is no good to anyone. So you've got to react really quickly, and you've got to be watching where the rain is coming from and react to it very, very quickly. If I'm going out on a shoot, the accepted norm, if you like, is sort of sunrise and sunset for landscape photographers. I'm a little bit different, because I actually think pre-sunrise is probably, the light can be a lot nicer than the sunrise itself. There is a tendency for people just to go and shoot pretty pictures, which I'm trying not to do. I want mood and atmosphere and stuff. So it's not just about the sunrise and sunset, it's about the light coming from that sunrise and sunset, and trying to use the light. And if you're going out for sunrise, you want to be in position at least half an hour before sunrise, if not 45 minutes. And if I was shooting commercially and I had a client stood next to me, I'd probably be on location an hour before sunrise. Just so you're there, you're in position, the camera's up, and you're waiting for the light. You don't actually get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning and think, what shall I put in the bag? Because I will guarantee you will forget something. So always pack the kit the night before. Have an idea of the location you're going to. You might not need a 500mm lens, you might want a 14mm lens. There's no point carrying every single lens you own. You've got to be a bit sensible about it, particularly if you're going to walk into a location. You want to be carrying as little kit as possible. So you kind of think about what you're doing. If you said, for example, near to where I live, you have Corfe Castle. So you're thinking Corfe Castle in the mist. Well, it's probably not a long lens shot. It's probably a moderate wide angle to 100mm type lens. So you don't want to be packing, a 300mm or a 500mm. So you just analyze what you're shooting, what kit you're going to need, and try and keep it to an absolute minimum, because it's not only the camera kit you're going to be carrying. You might be carrying, you know, a flask, coffee, bit of chocolate, waterproofs, things like that, as well as all the camera kit. So you need to really think about what your location is going to entail and what kit you're going to be carrying with you. I perfectly accept that, you know, sort of normal people with normal jobs cannot go out and spend days recceing a location just to go at the perfect time. Some people on holidays, working at, you know, doing their photography at weekends, yeah, will just go to a location having not been there. But you can do a bit of research online. You can look and see what other photographers have shot, get an idea of what lenses they've used. And if nothing else, you can carry a bit of kit in the camera bag and have a few bits and bobs of spare kit in the car that you can always return to if you really have to. I know some people will not want to leave kit in the car. I accept that. But you try and analyse your location as much as you can, just to minimise the amount of kit you're going to be carrying. At the moment, I'm using a mixture of brands, actually. A lot of my landscape stuff in the past has been with Nikon, and I'm still shooting with the Nikon 810, but oddly enough, my spare body at the moment is a Leica M10. And this morning was a classic case of, I was out and I knew my shot was going to be a 70-200 type image, but in the corner of my bag sits a Leica with a couple of lenses, just as a backup, so I've got something with me. Yeah, I've been using the M10 for landscapes, particularly when I have to do a long walk into a location. If I'm walking for 2 hours, I mean, if I dare mention my book Landscape, there's a couple of shots there where it was literally a 2.5 hour walk to the location, and I just carried the M10 and some Leica lenses. They're small, they're lightweight, it doesn't take up much room. And I was actually able to carry them in a proper sort of rucksack, which is, you know, far better for your back when you're walking. So again, it's looking at your location, doing the research, knowing what kit you're going to need for that particular location. There's the essentials like waterproofs, warm clothing, hat, gloves, scarves, all that sort of stuff if it's those sort of conditions. I also carry a little rubber mat that I do believe was a freebie giveaway about 20 years on the front cover of a camera magazine. And it's just a rubber foam mat, and it's brilliant. If you've got to sit and wait for the light and it's wet, it's windy, just to sit on a bit of foam rubber rather than a cold stone or a bit of damp grass makes a huge difference. And that with a flask of coffee, a bit of chocolate, makes a big difference. But also you've got to allow to carry things like a whistle, a head torch. You might be going out in the middle of the day, but if you're on your own and it's, you know, you trip over, break your leg, twist your ankle, and you need to communicate and there's no phone signal, you might need a whistle or a torch to make signals. And, you know, you need to carry those sorts of things, and they take up room and they take up weight in a bag. So, but they are kind of non-photographic essentials. I think a tripod is absolutely essential. I know there are people who will just put the ISO up and do handheld stuff. I know with the latest sort of mirrorless cameras, you can hold them steady now at sort of, you know, for shutter speeds of sort of 1-2 seconds, and the images are incredibly sharp because of the in-body image stabilization. But I'm kind of a bit old-fashioned. I'd rather work from a tripod. It slows you down and it makes you concentrate on your composition, and it makes you look at the view in much more detail. And I think you can compose an image using a tripod far more accurately than you can just handheld. I am not a fan of lightweight tripods. Excuse me. The tripod's built to do a job. If your tripod is too lightweight and too portable, then it will probably have all the sort of tensile strength of a pipe cleaner or a coat hanger or something. You need something that's going to, you know, stop it wobbling around in high winds and stuff. I'm using a Gitzo. It's quite a big, heavy Gitzo with an Arca Swiss ball and socket head on, and it's quite a weight. But if you're not carrying tons and tons of camera kit, you're only carrying the kit you need. You know, the balance is the tripod. I think you need a decent tripod. When I'm out on location, the first thing you're looking for is, if you've not had the chance to do a recce and you're sort of going blind, if you like, yeah, the first thing you're looking for is the view. It's not a case of just running up the hill, seeing the first thing, setting up and shooting the first thing you've seen. I think you've got to spend a bit of time and have a look round, because the better view might be another 20 feet further sort of up the hill or along the path. So the first thing to do is not panic, not think, oh God, I'm going to miss the light and all the rest of it. You've just got to think, right, I'm here with enough time to do a bit of a mini recce. If you've not been to the location before, give yourself time, 20 minutes or so, just to have a quick look round. Go an extra 100 yards along the footpath or into the woods or wherever you are, and just give yourself a little bit of time just to sort of get the view you want, but just don't panic. I do tend to use filters. Been using Lee grads and polarizer and stoppers for years and years now. Even with the dynamic range of the cameras and the ability to blend in post-production and stuff, I'd still rather use something like a grad filter to control the skies and things at the time of shooting. I just think if you've made the effort to climb to the top of a hill at 4 o'clock in the morning to shoot a sunrise or whatever, why not get it right at the time of taking? You know, rather than I've now got to go back to the office and sit in front of a computer and do blending and all the rest of it. Get it right with a grad first time round. So yeah, so carrying a few filters, you don't need many. A few grads, polarizer for a bit of fun, maybe a big stopper or something like that. Once you've shot a sunrise, a lot of people will think, well, that's the sunrise, and they pack up and they go off for their breakfast. Quite often, depends on the conditions. If you've got storm clouds coming in, you might start getting beams of light. If there's a bank of fog wafting in, it could cover the sun and you might get gorgeous soft lighting. So it's always worth waiting. And I always think if I've made the effort to be up at 4 in the morning, be on location, be in the right place, to spend another hour just waiting to see if anything happens after sunrise, I think it's worth it. And I've done shots where I've gone from clear skies, bank of cloud has come in, and suddenly I've had beams of light over the top of the castle. And there are probably 5 or 6 other people with tripods on the hill, and they've all gone off for breakfast, and I'm just sat there and I've got the scene all to myself. It is worth waiting. You never ever can quite tell what's going to happen. So it's always worth waiting. If you've got the time, there's no point rushing off somewhere else. You might as well sit and wait and see what happens, because weather is a funny thing. Once you've shot a location and you're pretty sure you've now got everything, it can be quite a sort of cold, wet, but hopefully you've got the right waterproofs, the right boots and things like that. But once you've got a shot and you feel you've got a shot, there is nothing like returning to either home or a cafe or back to the hotel, depending on where you are, and having sort of, you know, a full cooked breakfast, because you actually deserve it. You've earned it. So yeah, it's being on location. It can be quite a lonely experience. It can be quite cold, but you know, you can treat yourself. If you've got the shot and you've persevered, yeah, sneaking off for a log fire, mug of tea, bacon butty is a just reward for a job well done. I think if you're going out on location and the weather is looking very changeable, you're going to have storms, perhaps thunderstorms, hailstorms, or you're going out in the winter and there may be snow, things like that, frost. The clothing side of it is just as important as the camera kit side. Once you are cold, once your feet are wet and you can't feel your toes anymore, you start thinking about, you know, the log fire back at the hotel and the mug of tea. You don't think about taking pictures. So having the right outdoor kit is probably just as important, in fact, if not more important than the camera kit. Because if you're on the side of a mountain and you start getting cold and you start getting hypothermia, you actually put your life at risk. So you've got to have the right kit. So layers, I use Icebreaker merino wool thermals, and I look oh so sexy in my thermals. But yeah, Icebreaker, Merino Wool Thermals, but any of the big brands, Berghaus, Rab, people like that, they all do exceptional outdoor clothing, but build up your clothing in layers. So if you get too hot, you can peel a layer off. If you're too cold, you can add another layer. There's no point having just a t-shirt on and a thick coat. You actually need to build layers to trap hot air between each layer. I mean, I've just published the book Landscape, available from all good websites like jeremywalker.co.uk. And in that, I'm shooting in what might be termed bad weather a lot of the time because I want mood and drama. And again, most of the locations there I researched. You turn up on the location an hour or so before sunrise and things like that. And some locations I shot were disappointing. They were just not what I wanted or not what I thought they would be. And some locations that were just so simple just blew my mind. I mean, there was a small chapel in Dorset, St Luke's Chapel, and it is just an archway in the middle of a wood. And I spent 3 hours just sat watching the shadows move across the wood and through the forest and on the stonework, and it was just so peaceful and so wonderful. And hopefully I've captured that in the image that's in the book. Other locations, sort of like the slate quarries of North Wales, and I had what most people would call horrible weather. It was grey, it was overcast, it was raining. But if you're shooting industrial remains, maybe that is the best time to do it. You don't want blue skies and pretty orange skies and sunrises and things. So certain locations sort of lent themselves to shooting in bad weather.